Thanks so much for tuning into the channel. This is Tyler Tote. I just played a session, a fun little session here at 2550 in L and 5100 in L. Been playing a couple times a week here for the last month or so and had some pretty good results, up over a couple thousand here for this month. I played 3 hands against a very specific opponent today that I want to talk through some of my thought process and hopefully teach you if you're a lower stakes player. This is why you don't play the cards. I don't show up and play poker and just kind of hope I hit hands and hope they make second best hands. I attack certain tendencies. I attack certain spots. All 3 of these hands are versus the same opponent. Spoiler alert, on the very last hand, we fold the nut flush. He has to have 2 specific cards to make a straight flush. And I went ahead and made this fold, which is pretty wild. But all 3 of these hands are against the same opponent. I don't see his cards on the last one, so you guys can let me know what you think. But the first hand I want to go over here is just a really easy one. I'm going to go ahead and replay it. Our villain here is named Puma. He's got a rock because he's a really big nit. So you'll see here, I min raise all the time. So I open under the gun. Min raise here, we're 5-handed. I get this guy who's a caller who's very, very tight and very good and capable. Plays PLO a lot too. I battle him in PLO, but he's a good player. This guy here is just an absolute nit. He usually buys in for 60, 70, 80 big blinds, somewhere in there. You can see the note on him is rock, leads a set when he's nutted. Like, for instance, earlier in the session, he had kings, the flop, he 3-bet small, the flop was king 9-9, and he bet like 1/8 pot, then 3/8 pot, and then half pot, and then, just like he just milk. That's the way he just tries to make hands. So doesn't like to be put in bad spots. So anyway, we resume the action. The pot's now 355. Not a great flop for 5s, right? And so I check. It goes to this guy, he checks, and then he bets here 2/3 pot, somewhere in there. Now look, here's the thing about poker, and this is where I feel like you can really improve a lot. If this isn't the way you think about the game, I hope I can unlock something here for you. So when he bets here 2/3 pot, let's zoom back out and say who has a range advantage on ace king 9 here. Now I open under the gun. I can have aces, I can have kings, I can have all the ace king combos, all the ace king suited combos. This guy didn't re-raise me. He didn't re-raise me from the button. If he has aces or kings or ace king, he's 3-betting me from the button every single time. That's just how he's playing. I know this. If I'm playing in the game and another guy calls, you're not going to be the 3rd caller in and call with aces or kings on the button and take a flop 4 or 5 ways. So he is 100% of the time going to 3-bet all these hands. So the reason I decide here to put in a check raise here to make it 4x over his bet is I can essentially endanger his entire stack with this bet. So I'm using a lot of leverage right here. And what I'm basically saying to him is, hey, buddy, the best you can really have here, in my estimation, is probably ace jack. Perhaps you can flop ace 9. And even if he does have the best possible hand he can have, let's say ace 9 or maybe pocket 9s, which he probably sometimes should squeeze there, but I don't think he's the player that does. So let's say he has pocket 9s. Of course, he's just going to get it in. I'm going to lose my 16 big blinds here. But that's a couple combos of pocket 9s. I also picked up a tendency on him when it's checked to him, he just tends to bet. He just tries to take the pot down right there. So that was another reason why I checked and made this raise. I thought he'll stab here with even a queen 10, a queen jack far too often, and instead of taking his free card. And so for a lot of those reasons, look, I can have aces, I can have kings, I can have ace king. Let's say he's just sitting here with an ace 5 suited, right? He called on the button. He's got ace 5 suited. Now I check raise. The story I'm telling him is I got ace king. I got aces. I got kings. I got a monster hand here. He's not just worried about this $6.30 on the turn. He's playing for his stack now. Because look, if he calls with ace 5 and the turn is whatever, he's got to assume I'm going to continue from here on out. And so this is a key to poker, is you leverage a range advantage where you say he can't have the top hands here. He would always 3-bet those. He would always re-raise pre-flop. I can't. I'm the under the gun raiser. I can have the big hands here, so I can leverage that position, that knowledge, to put in a check raise, especially when I think his tendency is to overbluff when it's checked to him, and we can take the pot away. And you'll see right here, he just folded instantly. Wouldn't shock me here, by the way, if he folds an ace. If he just fired out with an ace 5 kind of thing to see where he's at or protect his hand, now he gets check raised, and he's like, I don't want to play for my whole stack with that hand. So again, I'm not just trying to make hands. Like, why that looks probably crazy to somebody who doesn't play poker a lot. Why do you check raise pocket 5s? You never have the best hand here. Again, because I have the range advantage, I can put a lot of pressure on him. Here's the next hand. And this one's kind of along the same lines. I open under the gun. See with king, queen off, he's next to act and just calls. We go four-way to a flop here. This flop comes king 6-9 rainbow. And again, this is a spot where I'm pretty much always going to see bet. I need to protect my hand. There's a lot of hands out there, the 7-8s, jack 10s, a lot of gut shots that can improve. I typically have the best hand. And if I'm not playing that specific opponent, I would just lead for 220, 240, 250, 260, somewhere in there. But because I'm playing this guy and I've seen him just have a propensity to every time it's checked to him, just fire out half pot or something like that, I can check to him and now leverage this situation where let's say he bets the 2 and this guy raises him or this guy re-raises him. I got a lot of free information now and can decide what to do with my hand. My hand shrinks up a lot. If one of these guys puts in a big check raise, now they're saying they've got 2 pair. They're telling a different story. It's on me to decide from there. But as played, I go ahead and check to him, expecting him to bet. He does. It folds to me, and then I just put in a small check raise, and now I'm protecting my hand against, again, those gut shots, or even like a 9-10 suited, 8-9 suited hand he might have. And again, he's the kind of player where, look, he'll tell me the story. If he did flop a set of 6s or 9s here, which is totally possible, I'm going to lose a little bit anyway if I check call, if I do whatever. And I'm basically, I've played this guy quite a bit. He has not adjusted to me doing this in months. To be honest, I check to him often. He stabs, and I check raise him with a big, large frequency of hands. He has yet to take a stand and battle back without just completely having the nuts. And so when I see these tendencies and I see guys not willing to change or adapt or do that, I'm going to keep hammering them. I'm going to keep abusing them until they do. And so then this is a pretty player-specific move here where I would always bet here when these 2 players check to me with top pair to protect my hand. Instead, I'm going to win an extra 4 big blinds here by putting in the check raise and seeing him fold. This next one's a pretty fun hand. I liked this one. So I play full ring. I wish they had bigger stakes full ring on here. I actually played full ring mostly for a living on Poker Stars, playing 24 tables at a time. This is the biggest limits they have on here, so I play. I limp quite a bit from early position. This is a great hand to limp. I have aces, obviously a great hand. Most people that play full ring do not have a limping range. I have, and I have for some time now. I limp raise a lot of hands. I don't just limp raise aces and kings. I'll limp ace-5 suited. I had a spot the other day where I limped in early with just a small pair of 7s. And just because of the action in the player specific, by the time it got back to me, a guy had 4x'd it. There was a few other calls. I went ahead and 3-bet that hand and was willing to go with it just because the player was a maniac who was in there. So I don't just limp big hands, and again, you don't want to be super predictable, but this is a strategy I have, is to limp from early position. So pretty good flop for us here. We flop an overpair with the nut flush. Now it's important to note here, there's 5 players in it. We're going to start to just build a pot. We might have the best hand. We have outs to make the best hand if not. So we go ahead and bet. We get 4 callers. It's important to note right here, this guy, massive whale, that bull sign means he's a whale. This guy right here, what beast what, I've battled up as high as 200 in L, 100 in L. Very good player, very thoughtful player. Played a really fun hand with him yesterday that I tried to share, but I accidentally lost it. But he's a very, very good and thinking and capable player. And then this is our villain right here again. Now, this is where the hand kind of goes off the rails. See what you guys think. He leads for 3rd pot. I go ahead and pop it with the nut flush here. And my reason for popping it, a lot of times I'd just call if this was, say, this guy leading into me. And I just thought he had a queen or jack high flush or an 8-high flush or whatever. Random. Some of these whales are just random. I just let him keep firing. Against this player specifically, my thinking was he could have flopped a set here and he's just trying to see it for very cheap. And so I wanna go ahead and get more value out of him there. Also, I think if he has a queen or a jack high flush, to be very honest, he's going to check the river, and maybe I win a very, very small bet, but I don't think I'm going to win much more against him. So my main reason for raising here was just to protect against a set. If he has 10s, if he has 6s, some hand like that, I guess those are the only 2 combos. And perhaps if he has the queen or jack high flush, to make him pay for that 1 outer. Here's where the hand goes crazy. He instantly rips. You can see I fold. I thought about it for a minute, but to be honest, everything in my gut said when he shoved, he has 7-8 spades. That's the hand that he has. Again, I've played with this guy a bunch, and it's almost like, well, why would he rip the 7-8 of spades there if he has that, or queen jack of spades also would be the nuts. 7-8 of spades, I guess, second nuts. So when you look at my hand from the outset, you say, holy cow, man, it's, I have the nut flush. How do you ever fold the nut flush? Well, my raise here to him indicates in the story I'm telling, again, I limp in from early position, I have way more ace of spades than he's going to have completing the small blind. I'm telling him I got the nut flush, man. He instantly ships over that. So I got to then zoom back out and ask myself the question, do I think he's trying to make me fold the nut flush? Is he good enough to just have the queen or the jack of spades here, or the 8 or the 7 of spades, and just try and make me fold the nut flush? After playing for months and months with this guy, the answer is very clearly no. So the conclusion that I come to is that he knows I have the ace-high flush. That's why I raised his bet, especially with the whale behind. And so he's going to go ahead and rip in there, just assuming he's going to stack me. I have the ace-high flush. I'm just going to always call. So when I look back, I say, hey, there's 2 hands of combos that beat me. I have the third nuts here. Very great hand, powerful hand. But I hope you can see from all these videos, I don't play my cards. What I'm doing is playing my opponents. I'm playing specific spots versus my opponents. And if you want to think about poker and be a more winning player, this is what you got to start to do. What are these guys capable of? Is it more likely he has a queen or a jack of spades and he's trying to bluff me off the nut flush? Not likely, in my opinion. It's far more likely he has one of those 2 combos, 7, 8 of spades or queen, jack of spades. And so after 10, 15 seconds of it and everything in my gut saying you're beat, if you make this call, you're losing the 20, however many much bucks it is more. I just decided that, I'm going to go ahead and fold. So I hope this has been somewhat insightful for you guys. I hear that my son woke up from a nap. He's outside my door. So I was going to go over maybe another hand, but we'll call it there. I hope you guys have the greatest day of your life. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys like some of the poker content or want more of the play and explain type videos, let me know. Happy to put some of those up. You guys go have the best day. Chat soon.